Hare Krishna, my friends. Welcome to Bhaktiville. We had a little snafu recording our Friday night class, so we're re-recording it here. And but it's the same stuff. We have fewer people here and no comments, no chat comments, unless Bhakti wants to chime in there and chat. So just to let you know, this is a re-recording, and but it's the same material that we read on Friday. All right, welcome, my friends. Last week, we started chapter 5 in Srimad Bhagavatam, First Canto. So Narada knew about Bhakti Mimulus chatting. No, first I give a little introduction, then we do Om Namo. Do you want me to start over? All right. So we started chapter 5 last week, and Narada knew about Vyasadeva's dissatisfaction. He praised Vyasadeva's work so far in compiling the Vedas and gently explained why Vyasadeva was dissatisfied. So let's continue our reading. Tonight we're on Canto 1, Chapter 5, Text 9. You'll find that on page 262 of the PDF or page 230 of the book. So before we get going, let me offer my obeisances. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya, Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale, Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swaminati Namane. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at His lotus feet. And please accept my humble obeisances. Panchakalpa Turuvyashta, Kripasindubhye Vacha, Patitanam Bhavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo, Namo Namaha. I also offer my respectful obeisances unto the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord. They are just like desire trees and can fulfill the desires of everyone, and they are full of compassion for the fallen conditioned souls. Jai. All right, so here are the 4 verses that we sing before we read Srimad Bhagavatam on Fridays. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. So you can sing along with us. All right? Nashta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhagavati uttama shloke bhaktir bhavati naishtiki. By regular attendance in classes on the Bhagavatam, and by rendering of service to the pure devotee, all that is troublesome to the heart is almost completely destroyed, and loving service unto the personality of Godhead, who is praised with transcendental songs, is established as an irrevocable fact. Shrinvatam svakata Krishna punya shravana kirtanaho hridyantasto yabhadrani vidunoti sufritsatam. Sri Krishna, the personality of Godhead, who is the Paramatma, Supersoul, in everyone's heart, and the benefactor of the truthful devotee, cleanses desire for material enjoyment from the heart of the devotee, who has developed the urge to hear his messages, which are in themselves virtuous when properly heard and chanted. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim swarasvatim vyasam tato jayam udirayet. Before reciting the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances unto the personality of Godhead Narayana, unto Narayana Rishi, the supermost human being, unto Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and unto Srila Vyasadeva, the author. All right. So we are on page, scroll back down here, 262 of the PDF or page 230 of the book. So we'll do call and response first. Yata dharmadasyas charta yata dharmadayas charta muni varyanukirtitaha muni varyanukirtitaha natata vasudevasya natata vasudevasya mahima yanuvarnitaha mahima yanuvarnitaha. We don't have Kandita here today, so it'll just be me singing this along. So sing along with me. Yata dharmadayas charta munivaya nukirtitaha natata vasudevasya mahima yanu varnitaha. Word for word. Yata, as much as, dharma adayaha, all four principles of religious behavior, cha, and, artaha, purposes, munivarya, by yourself the great sage, anukirtitaha, repeatedly described, na, not, tata, in that way, Vasudevasya, of the personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, Mahima, glories, he, certainly, Anuvarnitaha, so constantly described. Translation. Although, great sage, you have very broadly described the four principles, beginning with religious performances, you have not described the glories of the Supreme Personality, Vasudeva. So this is Narada Muni talking to Vyasadeva. Purport. The prompt diagnosis of Sri Narada is at once declared. The root cause of the despondency of Vyasadeva was his deliberate avoidance of glorifying the Lord in his various editions of the Puranas. He has certainly, as a matter of course, given descriptions of the glories of the Lord Sri Krishna, but not as many as given to religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, and salvation. So that list of things in Sanskrit is dharma, artha, kama, moksha. So you'll hear those four things referred to often. These four items are by far inferior to engagement in the devotional service of the Lord. Sri Vyasadeva, as the authorized scholar, knew very well this difference, and still, instead of giving more importance to the better type of engagement, namely the devotional service to the Lord, he has more or less improperly used his valuable time, and thus he was despondent. From this it is clearly indicated that no one can be pleased substantially without being engaged in the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, this fact is clearly mentioned. After liberation, which is the last item in the line of performing religiosity, etc., one is engaged in pure devotional service. This is called the stage of self-realization, or Brahmabhuta stage. After attainment of this Brahmabhuta stage, one is satisfied. But satisfaction is the beginning of transcendental bliss. One should progress by attaining neutrality and equality in the relative world, and passing this stage of equanimity, one is fixed up in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. This is the instruction of the personality of Godhead in the Bhagavad Gita. The conclusion is that in order to maintain the status quo of the Brahmabhuta stage, as also to increase the degree of transcendental realization, it is recommended by Narada to Vyasadeva that he, Vyasadeva, should now eagerly and repeatedly describe the path of devotional service. This would cure him from gross despondency. So I just want to say a couple of things. I was doing what I do here, my sadhana here at home, and I was thinking that I was satisfied with what I had done. And it hit me all of a sudden that I wasn't doing this for my satisfaction, that I was doing this for the satisfaction of Srila Prabhupada and Sri Krishna, Radha and Krishna. So just kind of keep that in mind. Prabhupada says that this satisfaction is the beginning of something else, but also remember, not my satisfaction, but satisfaction in general, is the beginning of the Brahma Bhuta, but also remember that satisfaction is for them, not for us. And another point, Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport that that if we're doing all these other things and not engaging in devotional service, then that's a reason for despondency. So we can take this directly relate what Narada Muni is saying to Vyasadeva, to ourselves. This would cure us from our gross despondency. So, important things here. All right, text 10. Call and response. Nayad Vichaschitra Padam Hare Yasho. Nayad Vichaschitra Padam Hare Yasho. Jagat Pavitram Pragrinita Karhichit. Jagat Pavitram Pragrinita Karhichit. Tadvayasam Tirtam Ushanti Manasa. Tadvayasam Tirtam Ushanti Manasa. Nayatra Hamsa Niramanti Ushikashaya. Sorry. And the whole line. Nayatra Hamsa Niramanti Ushikshaya. Alright, the whole thing. Nayad Vachas Chitra Padam Hare Yasho. Jagat Pavitram Pragrinita Karhichit. Tadvyasam Tirtam Ushanti Manasa. Nayatra Hamsa Niramanti Ushikshaya. Word for word. Na, not. Yat, that. Vachaha, vocabulary. Chitra Padam, decorative. Hare, of the Lord. Yashaha, glories. Jagat, universe. Pavitram, sanctified. Pragrinita, described. Karhichit, hardly. Tat, that. Vayasam, crows. Tirtam, place of pilgrimage. Ushanti, think. Manasaha, saintly persons. Na, not. Yatra, where. Hamsaha, all perfect beings. Niramanti, take pleasure. Ushikshayaha, those who reside in the transcendental abode. And here's where we need plate 19. Do you want to do that, Bhakti? Plate 19. Here's the English. Those words which do not describe the glories of the Lord, who alone can sanctify the atmosphere of the whole universe, are considered by saintly persons to be like unto a place of pilgrimage for crows, since the all-perfect persons are inhabitants of the transcendental abode. They do not derive any pleasure there. Okay, we're getting there. 19. Do you want me to do it back to there? That's the one. Plate 19. The swan-like spiritually advanced men do not take pleasure in dead literatures, which are sources of, I can't see it because your name tag's in the way, are sources of pleasure for men who are spiritually dead. So it shows two opposing paintings of people involved in daily life talking about things, and then below an idyllic setting where people are talking about Krishna. Actually, it looks like Krishna. You can't see it closely. Let's see if I can zoom in on there. What do you think, Bhakti? Those are the... Nope, I think those are just devotees sitting and chatting about Krishna, reading and chatting about Krishna. All right, purport. Crows and swans are not birds of the same feather because of their different mental attitudes. The fruitive workers or passionate men are compared to the crows, whereas the all-perfect saintly persons are compared to the swans. The crows take pleasure in a place where garbage is thrown out, just as the passionate fruitive workers take pleasure in wine and women and places for gross sense pleasure. The swans do not take pleasure in the places where crows are assembled for conferences and meetings. They are instead seen in the atmosphere of natural scenic beauty, where there are transcendental reservoirs of water, nicely decorated with stems of lotus flowers in variegated colors of natural beauty. That is the difference between the two classes of birds. Nature has influenced different species of life with different mentalities, and it is not possible to bring them up into the same rank and file. Similarly, there are different kinds of literature for different types of men of different mentality. Mostly the market literatures, which attract men of the crows categories, are literatures containing refused remnants of sensuous topics. They are generally known as mundane talks in relation with the gross body and subtle mind. They are full of subject matter described in decorative language, full of mundane similes and metaphorical arrangements. Yet with all that, they do not glorify the Lord. Such poetry and prose on any subject matter is considered decoration of a dead body. Spiritually advanced men who are compared with the swans do not take pleasure in such dead literatures, which are sources of pleasure for men and women who are spiritually dead. These literatures in the modes of passion and ignorance are distributed under different labels, but they can hardly help the spiritual urge of the human being, and thus the swan-like spiritually advanced men have nothing to do with them. Such spiritually advanced people are called also manasa, because they always keep up the standard of transcendental voluntary service to the Lord on the spiritual plane. This completely forbids fruitive activities for gross bodily sense satisfaction or subtle speculation of the material egoistic mind. Social, literary people, scientists, mundane poets, theoretical philosophers, and politicians who are completely absorbed in the material advancement of sense pleasure are all dolls of the material energy. They take pleasure in a place where rejected subject matters are thrown. According to Swami Sridhar, this is the pleasure of the prostitute hunters. But literatures which describe the glories of the Lord are enjoyed by the Paramahamsas who have grasped the essence of human activities. So a couple of comments here before we go on. So Swami Sridhar was a contemporary of Lord Chaitanya, and he wrote many things, of which none are translated into English. But Srila Prabhupada used his books extensively in his commentaries and his purports. So that's why he's making reference to him here. Also, it was brought up on Friday that crows are really smart. So this analogy is troubled, but at the same time, the crows do eat trash, and that's the comparison he's trying to make here. And swans are said to be able, if you mix milk with water, swans are able to pull just the milk out and leave the clear water in the container. So Paramahamsa, supreme swan-like person, are those people who can take the essence of life, which is devotional service, and present that to people. So Paramahamsa. Hamsa is swan, so Paramahamsa is the swan-like person. Did you get all the comments from that, what we read on Friday there, Bhakti? That was all of our comments there. I want to include them because there are some good comments that we have going when we have our whole group here. Yes, he says. All right, text 11. Call and response. Tad vag visargo janataga viplavo. Oh, I should be singing this. Tad vag visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadavatyapi yasman pratishlokam abadavatyapi namanyanantasya yasho in kintaniyat namani antasya yason kitaniyat shunvanti gayanti grinanti sadavaha shunvanti gayanti grinanti sadavaha. And the whole verse. Tad vad visargo janataga viplavo yasmin pratishlokam abadavatyapi namanyanan tasya yasho kitaniyat shrinvanti gayanti grinanti sadavaha. Tat, that. Vak, vocabulary. Visargaha, creation. Janata, the people in general. Agha, sins. Viplavaha, revolutionary. Yasmin, in which. Pratishlokam, each and every stanza. Abadavati, irregularly composed. Api, in spite of. Namani, transcendental names, etc. Anantasya, of the unlimited Lord. Yashaha, glories. Ankitani, depicted. Yat, what. Shrinvanti, do hear. Gayanti, do sing. Grinanti, to accept. Sadavaha, the purified men who are honest. So I just want to say, I am no expert at Sanskrit. I try, but I trip over these words all the time, and I apologize, but imperfect here, just trying to, read this perfect stuff, so thank you for your encouragement. All right, translation in English. On the other hand, that literature which is full of descriptions of the transcendental glories of the name, fame, forms, pastimes, etc., of the unlimited Supreme Lord is a different creation, full of transcendental words directed toward bringing about a revolution in the impious lives of this world's misdirected civilization. Such transcendental literatures, even though imperfectly composed, are heard, sung, and accepted by purified people who are thoroughly honest. I think wherever there's men, I'm just going to say people or person, because that'll just get everybody in there. All right, purport. And I just want to say Prabhupada is, of an older generation where when you say man, it meant everybody, but not so much now. So I'm just going to make those changes as I read. Purport. It is a qualification of the great thinkers to pick up the best even from the worst. It is said that the intelligent person should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a lesson even from a man, excuse me, even from a person or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place without exception. But a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man, and he is always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord, because by broadcasting the holy name and fame of the Supreme Lord, the polluted atmosphere of the world will change, and as a result of propagating the transcendental literatures, like Srimad Bhagavatam, people will become sane in their transactions. While preparing this commentation on this particular stanza of Srimad Bhagavatam, we have a crisis before us. Our neighboring friend China, he's in India, our neighboring friend China has attacked the border of India with a militaristic spirit, with practically no business in the political field. Yet we see that previously they were both China and India, and they both lived peacefully for centuries without ill feeling. The reason is that they lived those days in an atmosphere of God consciousness, and every country over the surface of the world was God-fearing, pure-hearted, and simple, and there was no question of political diplomacy. There is no cause of quarrel between the two countries of China and India over land which is not very suitable for habitation, and certainly there is no cause for fighting on this issue. But due to the age of quarrel, Kali, which we have discussed, there is always a chance of quarrel on slight provocation. This is due not to the issue in question, but to the polluted atmosphere of this age. Systematically, there is propaganda by a section of people to stop glorification of the name and fame of the Supreme Lord. Therefore, there is great need for disseminating the message of Srimad Bhagavatam all over the world. It is the duty of every responsible Indian to broadcast the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the world, to do all the supermost good, as well as to bring about the desired peace in the world. Because India has failed in her duty by neglecting this responsible work, there is so much quarrel and trouble all over the world. We are confident that if the transcendental message of Srimad Bhagavatam is received only by the leading men of the world, certainly there will be a change of heart, and naturally the people in general will follow them. The mass of people in general are tools in the hands of the modern politicians and leaders of the people. If there is a change of heart of the leaders only, certainly there will be a radical change in the atmosphere of the world. We know that our honest attempt to present this great literature, conveying the transcendental messages for reviving the God consciousness of the people in general, and re-spiritualizing the world atmosphere, is fraught with many difficulties. Our presenting this matter in adequate language, especially a foreign language, will certainly fail, and there will be so many literary discrepancies despite our honest attempt to present it in the proper way. But we are sure that with all of our faults in this connection, the seriousness of the subject matter will be taken into consideration, and the leaders of society will still accept this due to its being an honest attempt to glorify the Almighty God. When there is fire in a house, the inmates of the house go out to get help from the neighbors, who may be foreigners, and yet, without knowing the language of the victims of the fire, the victims of the fire express themselves, and the neighbors understand the need, even though not expressed in the same language. The same spirit of cooperation is needed to broadcast this transcendental message of the Srimad Bhagavatam throughout the polluted atmosphere of the world. After all, it is a technical science of spiritual values, and thus we are concerned with the techniques and not with the language. If the techniques of this great literature are understood by the people of the world, there will be success. When there are too many materialistic activities by the people in general all over the world, there is no wonder that a person or a nation attacks another person or nation on slight provocation. That is the rule of this age of Kali, or quarrel. The atmosphere is already polluted with corruption of all description, and everyone knows it well. There are so many unwanted literatures full of materialistic ideas of sense gratification. The people in general want to read. That is a natural instinct. But because their minds are polluted, they want such literatures. Under the circumstances, transcendental literature like Srimad Bhagavatam will not only diminish the activities of the corrupt mind of the people in general, but also it will supply food for their hankering after reading some interesting literature. In the beginning, they may not like it because one suffering from jaundice is reluctant to take sugar candy, but we should know that sugar candy is the only remedy for the jaundice. Similarly, let there be systematic propaganda for popularizing reading of the Bhagavad Gita and the Srimad Bhagavatam, which will act like sugar candy for the jaundice-like condition of sense gratification. When people have a taste for this literature, the other literatures, which are catering poison to society, will then automatically cease. We are sure, therefore, that everyone in the human society will welcome Srimad Bhagavatam, even though it is now presented with so many faults, for it is recommended by Sri Narada, who has very kindly appeared in this chapter. So I just want to say, Srila Prabhupada is writing this in India at Shri Radha Damodar Mandir in his rooms there. And so, before he left India to come to America. So this book that we're reading was all composed before he came to the West. Okay. Bhaktiville says, that's what I learned in school. Men means all, right? But it's the men who decided that. Men means all. When I read something that says men, I don't feel included. So, excuse me. So I think that that's something that we need to consider in this more modern age, that we want to be inclusive. Yes, we want to be inclusive. So we want to, I know Prabhupada is saying men and meaning everyone, and so I'm saying people meaning everyone. So, anything else? Did you want to add any? Nope, nothing else. All right. Text 12. I think this is our... Yeah, we'll end with this one here. Text 12. Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhavavarjitam. Naishkarmyam apyachuta bhavavarjitam. Nashobhate jnanam malam niranjanam. Nashobhate jnanam alam niranjanam. Kuta puna shashvad abhadram ishvare. Kuta puna shashvad abhadram ishvare. Nacharpitam karmayad apyakaranam. Nacharpitam karmayad apyakaranam. Right, the whole verse. Naishkaryam api achyuta bhava varjitam na shobhate jnanam alam niranjanam kuta puna shashvad abhadramishvare na charpitam karma yadapi akaranam. And the word for word. Naishkarmyam, self-realization. Being freed from the reactions of fruitive work. Api, in spite of. Achyuta, the infallible Lord. Bhava, conception. Varjitam, devoid of. Na, does not. Shobhate, look well. Jnanam, transcendental knowledge. Alam, by and by. Niranjanam, free from designations. Kuttaha, where is. Punaha, again. Shashvat, always. Apadram, uncongenial. Ishvare, unto the Lord. Na, not. Cha, and. Arpitam, offered. Karma, fruit of work. Yet, api, what is. Akaranam, not fruitive. I made a lot of comments on our Friday class about Naishkarmyam. So there was a devotee whose name was Karmi, and no idea how she got that name, but Srila Prabhupada initiated her with the name Naishkarmi, self-realized. So she became the servant, the self-realized. And I have a friend whose name is Karma. Short story. So her mom had 3 daughters and wanted to have a son. So when she gave birth to her 4th child, the father came in and he was hopeful that there was a boy, and she was like, no, another girl. And the dad goes, well, that's my karma. So they named her Karma, and she's great. I really love her, but her name is Karma. That's her. That's his karma. That's his girl, Karma. All right, anyway. Back to this. Translation. So also, I didn't say this on Friday, but I think it's fascinating that all of these words, this is over 50 years ago this happened, that these words have become part of our English vocabulary. Karma, guru, samsara, all kinds of words are now part of our English language. So karma was there. Yes. Bhakti says, yes, they have. So yeah, they've just become part of our English language now. Translation. Knowledge of self-realization, even though freed from all material affinity, does not look well if devoid of a conception of the infallible God. What then is the use of fruitive activities, which are naturally painful from the very beginning and transient by nature, if they are not utilized for the devotional service of the Lord? I got somebody trying to chat with me. All right. Purport. As referred to above, not only ordinary literatures devoid of the transcendental glorification of the Lord are condemned, but also Vedic literatures and speculation on the subject of impersonal Brahman when they are devoid of devotional service. When speculation on the impersonal Brahman is condemned on the above ground, then what to speak of ordinary fruitive work, which is not meant to fulfill the aim of devotional service? Such speculative knowledge and fruitive work cannot lead one to the goal of perfection. Fruitive work, in which almost all people in general are engaged, is always painful, either in the beginning or at the end. It can only be fruitful when made subservient to the devotional service of the Lord. In the Bhagavad Gita, also, it is confirmed that the result of such fruitive work may be offered for the service of the Lord, otherwise it leads to material bondage. The bona fide enjoyer of the fruitive work is the personality of Godhead, and thus when it is engaged for the sense gratification of the living beings, becomes an acute source of trouble. So I just want to say something that I didn't say previously. So Vyasadeva, Bhaktiville says, and restaurants now serve veggie entrees. Yes, being a vegetarian is mainstream, which is great. I didn't say this previously. So Vyasadeva is having these troubles, right? He's written all this stuff and not giving equal ink time to devotional service. He's talking about Artha Kama Dharma Moksha. And but I just want to say that those sections of our Vedic literature are for these people who would be reading, doctor's office magazines and all these other things that are unrelated to devotional service. And the reason he wrote these or compiled these literatures is to gradually bring people to the platform of devotional service. And Prabhupada says that in one of the purports. He talks about the Brahmabhuta stage. So he says, after you've gone through this Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha cycle, then you are satisfied and you are there on this Brahmabhuta section realization. So Prabhupada alludes to that literature here when he talks about the impersonal Brahman, the literature speaking about the impersonal Brahman. So that's what he's alluding to, is that there. Bhaktiville has a comment. I now find it hard to read Karmi books. I feel guilty and a little bored. I have to force myself to read them. I know I'm in a book club, and I didn't read this month's book because last month's book was so. It was a great book, but so difficult. It was about slavery. I mean, it was February. It was Black History Month, and I was just floored by the book. It was an excellent book, but I did have to set aside every day a focus time to read it because I was not wanting to. But that was different. But it was difficult because it was imbued with so much punishment and pain and sorrow. Next month is Women's History Month. Yes. This month in my book club, it's science fiction. She wanted to move it away from all of this heaviness, but I didn't get the book, so I'm not going. Anyway, yes, I do feel guilty, and I do have to set aside specific time, but I go because I want to sit and talk with intelligent people. And in the last book that we read, we did talk about many, many spiritual aspects of the book. So it wasn't without that. Bhaktiville says, you can learn about spiritual things in Karmi stories. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So the book is not unworthy. It's a very good book, and there were lots of really wonderful things. And Prabhupada says here, and this I really took to heart because I often come across things that just make me angry, that devotees post. And he says, it is said that the intelligent person should pick up nectar from a stalk of poison, should accept gold even from a filthy place, should accept a good and qualified wife even from an obscure family, and should accept a good lesson even from a man or from a teacher who comes from the untouchables. These are some of the ethical instructions for everyone in every place, without exception. But then he goes on to say, but a saint is far above the level of an ordinary person. And so yeah, there are devotees who post really nice things from horrible people, just And I just tell them every single time, this person's horrible. Why would you post this? And they quote this section that even gold is still valuable from a filthy place. But the very next sentence is, but a saint is far above the level of an ordinary man, always absorbed in glorifying the Supreme Lord. So Dr. Mimula says he says so in the Path of Knowledge too, in the Gita. So yeah, so there will be bits of gold all over the place, but what we want to do is focus on glorifying the Lord and broadcasting the holy name and fame to clean the atmosphere. So, anything else? Any other comments you want to add? Or Davina says no, thank you. All right. So he says, thank you for redoing. You're very welcome. And more than happy to redo it, although we don't have Kandita, and we had another guest on Friday. But thank you, everyone, for listening to our recordings. We're so very grateful that we're able to do this service. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.